The blaring alarm jolted Dr. Maya Chen awake. Her screen flashed red with an incoming signal, unlike anything she'd seen before. Heart racing, she scrambled to decode it, fingers flying across the keyboard. "This can't be right," she whispered. Maya rubbed her tired eyes and checked the time. 3:17 a.m. For the past 6 months, she had worked alone in the basement of the International Space Agency, monitoring deep space transmissions. No one expected her to find anything. Her assignment was punishment for challenging her superiors once too often. The message repeated itself. Strange symbols flashed across her screen, pulsing with an urgency that transcended language. Maya's translation software struggled to process the alien syntax, but certain patterns emerged. Numbers, coordinates, and something that looked disturbingly like a countdown. "Computer, run analysis again," she ordered, her voice steady despite the chill spreading through her body. 3 hours later, the message was clear. Earth wasn't alone, and it wasn't safe. The transmission described a force called the Hegemony, a coalition of aggressive species that had systematically conquered 17 less advanced civilizations. According to the warning, Earth was next on their list. Maya hesitated before making the call. No one had taken her seriously since the incident 2 years ago, when grief had clouded her judgment. The memory of her daughter's funeral flashed through her mind. Little Emma, only 7 years old, taken by a disease so rare that Maya couldn't find the cure in time, despite her brilliant mind. "This will end my career if I'm wrong," she muttered, reaching for her phone. General Williams answered on the 4th ring. "This better be important, Chen." "Sir, I've intercepted a transmission. Non-terrestrial origin. It's a warning." The silence on the other end lasted 5 seconds. "Send me everything. Don't share this with anyone else." Within hours, Maya found herself in the Pentagon, explaining her findings to 12 stern-faced officials. Their skepticism was obvious. "You expect us to believe aliens are coming to invade Earth?" asked Secretary Davis, not bothering to hide his contempt. Maya pointed to the data. "The transmission includes stellar coordinates that match nothing in our catalogs. The mathematical sequences couldn't possibly be random. And the source is moving, approaching our solar system." "Dr. Chen," General Williams said carefully, "your recent personal tragedy has nothing to do with this," Maya snapped. As Maya stared at the alien communication projected on the wall, memories of her daughter's death flooded back. She had failed to save her only child from a rare disease. Would she fail humanity too? 3 days passed. Maya waited in her apartment, suspended from duty pending a psychological evaluation. The news channels reported nothing unusual. She began to doubt herself. Then her phone rang. "Turn on your TV," General Williams said, his voice tight. Every channel showed the same image, a massive ship, unlike anything humans had built, hovering over New York City. It was sleek, almost beautiful, with curves that seemed to bend light around its hull. Maya rushed to the window. From her apartment in Washington, D.C., she couldn't see New York, but she could see the military helicopters flying north and the fighter jets screaming overhead. Her phone beeped with a secure message. "Dr. Chen, Pentagon, now." 2 hours later, Maya stood in a secure room with the president and her advisors, watching live footage of the alien ship. It had made no aggressive moves. It simply waited, floating silently above the terrified city. "It doesn't match the description from the warning," Maya said. "This could be something else." As if responding to her words, the ship released smaller vessels that descended toward Central Park. The room fell silent as they watched the landing. The aliens emerged, tall, slender beings with iridescent skin. They carried no visible weapons. "We are the last of the Arxians," their leader announced in perfect English. The words somehow transmitted directly to all electronic devices. "We have come to warn you. The hegemony destroyed our world. 17 civilizations have fallen. Earth will be next." The president turned to Maya. "You were right." Maya felt no satisfaction, only a cold determination. When the refugee ship appeared above New York 3 days later, the world changed forever. And perhaps, Maya thought, she had been given a second chance. She couldn't save Emma. But maybe, just maybe, she could help save humanity. Commander Jackson Davis watched the alien scout ships approaching through his binoculars. His squad of just 30 soldiers hid in the Amazon rainforest, outgunned and outmatched. The strange vessels hummed as they moved, their metallic surfaces reflecting the morning sunlight. They looked like giant insects, with curved bodies and spindly appendages that extended from their hulls. "They're getting closer," whispered Lieutenant Rodriguez beside him. Her face showed the same fear they all felt. "What do we do?" Davis lowered his binoculars and turned to face his team. They weren't special forces or elite soldiers. They were regular people, teachers, farmers, mechanics who had volunteered to fight when the main invasion began 3 weeks ago. Most major cities had fallen already. The world's armies had tried to fight the hegemony with tanks and jets and missiles, but their weapons seemed useless against the alien technology. "We can't win this conventionally," he told them, remembering his childhood fighting larger bullies in the streets of Detroit. "But they don't understand our planet. They don't understand us." Rodriguez looked doubtful. "We have rifles and some explosives. They have energy weapons and ships that can fly." Davis smiled. "My mom used to tell me something when I was a kid getting beat up by bigger boys. She said, 'Jackson, when you can't be stronger, be smarter. When you can't be smarter, be more surprising.'" He laid out a crude map on the jungle floor. "These aliens come from a world very different from Earth. They don't know our terrain. They don't expect our weather. And they certainly don't expect humans to fight when we should logically surrender." For 3 days, Davis and his team watched the alien patrols. They noted how the scout ships avoided the heaviest parts of the rainforest. They observed how the alien troops moved in perfect formation, never adapting to the terrain. And most importantly, they noticed how the aliens seemed confused by rainstorms, their equipment malfunctioning when wet. "The plan is simple," Davis explained. "We won't attack them. We'll let the jungle do it for us." They worked through the night, modifying farming equipment and creating primitive but effective devices. They dug trenches and covered them with leaves. They prepared areas where mudslides could be triggered. They set up tripwires made from vines. "Now we wait for rain," Davis said, looking up at the gathering clouds. When the storm came, it brought the perfect cover. The alien patrol ships struggled in the downpour, their sensors clearly impaired. Davis gave the signal, and his team sprang into action. The first ship crashed when Rodriguez and her team used a modified irrigation pump to spray water directly into its propulsion system. The second and third fell into the camouflaged trenches. 2 more were brought down when Davis's group triggered a mudslide that buried them against the hillside. "It's working," someone shouted. Using nothing but modified farming equipment and homemade explosives, Davis's team managed to destroy 7 advanced alien vessels before sunset. As they regrouped at their camp, celebrating their unexpected victory, a noise from the undergrowth silenced them. Davis raised his hand, signaling everyone to take cover. Through the foliage emerged a limping figure, clearly not human. The alien soldier was injured, blue liquid seeping from a wound in its leg. It collapsed at the edge of their camp, its breathing labored. "Kill it," urged one of the soldiers, raising his rifle, "before it calls for help." Davis stepped forward. "No." He approached the injured alien carefully, its 4 eyes fixed on him, wary but too weak to fight. Davis took out his water canteen and offered it to the creature. Then he signaled for their medic. "What are you doing?" the alien asked, its voice translated through a device on its chest. "You should eliminate me. It is the logical choice." The medic bandaged the alien's wound while Davis kept his team back. "That's your weakness," the alien said. "Illogical compassion. The hegemony will exploit this. You cannot win through kindness." Davis smiled. "No, That's our strength. He gestured around at the diverse group of humans. We're not fighting for logic. We're fighting for each other, for our homes, for our right to be compassionate, even to our enemies. The alien fell silent, its eyes blinking in what might have been confusion. Later that night, as the captured alien slept, Davis sent his report back to headquarters. For the first time since the invasion began, humans had won a battle. It was small, just 7 ships destroyed, but it proved something vital. The hegemony could be beaten. Not with superior technology or weapons, but with the one thing they seemed to lack completely: humanity. Maya worked in the underground bunker as explosions rocked the ground above. The invasion had begun in earnest. Billions dead, hope fading. Dust fell from the ceiling with each distant blast, coating her equipment in a fine gray powder. She wiped it away mechanically, too tired to care anymore. 6 months had passed since the hegemony's main fleet arrived. Earth's defenses had crumbled faster than anyone predicted. The first wave alone had wiped out most major cities. The second wave targeted food production. The third targeted water supplies. It was systematic, efficient, and merciless. Dr. Chen, they're bringing him in now, said her assistant, a young medical student named Priya. The girl's eyes were hollow from lack of sleep, her lab coat stained with blood that wasn't hers. The medical team rushed in, pushing a gurney through the narrow doorway. Maya recognized the broken figure immediately, despite the burns and wounds covering most of his body. On her table lay Commander Davis, critically wounded after saving a school bus of children during the London attack. According to the medics, he had used his own body to shield the bus from falling debris as the aliens targeted the evacuation route. 27 children lived because of him. Now, he was barely alive himself. His left lung is collapsed, reported the doctor. Internal bleeding. Brain showing unusual activity. He won't last the night without intervention. Maya nodded, her face betraying no emotion. She had seen too much death to react visibly anymore. "Leave us," she said. The medical team hesitated. "Now, please." When they were alone, Maya prepared the neural interface she'd been developing in secret. It was untested on humans. The prototype sat beside her workstation, a delicate crown of wires and sensors, connecting to a larger unit filled with cooling fluid. "Jackson," she said softly, using his first name. "Can you hear me?" Davis's eyes fluttered open. Recognition flickered across his pain-twisted face. "Maya," he whispered. Blood bubbled at the corner of his mouth. "Did they make it? The children?" "Yes. All of them." A ghost of a smile crossed his face. "Good." Maya held up the neural interface. "I need to explain something quickly. I've been studying the hegemony's communication patterns. They think collectively, like a hive. Their individual minds are powerful but limited. They can't process contradictions or emotional complexity. It's why they've been so successful and so ruthless. They simply can't comprehend our humanity." She took a deep breath. This device might allow a human mind to interface with their network, to introduce elements they can't defend against. But it's never been tested. It might kill you. Davis looked at the ceiling, where another explosion sent more dust raining down. "I'm already dying. It will be painful," Maya warned. "And if it works, you won't be the same." "Do it," Davis whispered through bloody lips. Maya's hands trembled as she positioned the interface on Davis's head. Memories flooded her mind. Another medical emergency, another experimental treatment, another desperate attempt to save a life. Her daughter Emma, 6 years ago, her small body failing as the rare disease attacked her nervous system. Maya thought of her daughter as she activated the device. "I couldn't save her," she told the unconscious Davis. "But maybe we can save everyone else." The machine hummed to life. Davis's body arched in pain, his mouth open in a silent scream. Maya watched the monitors as his brain activity spiked to impossible levels. For 17 minutes, his body convulsed while Maya stood by, tears streaming down her face, unable to stop the process now that it had begun. Then suddenly, he went still. The monitors showed no heartbeat. "No," Maya whispered. "Not again." She reached for the defibrillator, but before she could use it, Davis gasped. His eyes flew open. They were the same brown eyes she remembered, but something about them was profoundly different. They seemed deeper somehow, as if looking at things beyond the room. When Davis awoke, his eyes held a new awareness. He could see patterns within patterns, possibilities within possibilities. He could think in ways the logical hegemony could not predict because their minds couldn't process human emotion. "I understand now," he said, touching Maya's hand. "And they never will." Davis sat up, his wounds seemingly forgotten. He looked at his hands as if seeing them for the first time. Their minds are limited. They're trapped in logic, in prediction, in what makes sense. He looked at Maya with wonder. "But humans, we hope when there is no reason to hope. We love without logic. We sacrifice without calculation." Maya felt a spark of something she hadn't experienced in months. "Hope. Can you access their network?" she asked. Davis nodded slowly. "I can see it all. Their plans, their ships, their weaknesses." His eyes focused on hers. "Maya, we can win this. Not with weapons, but with what makes us human." The enhanced human fighters moved with impossible precision. Where the hegemony expected retreat, humans advanced. Where they expected surrender, humans fought harder. On battlefields across the world, the tide was turning in small but significant ways. 3 months had passed since Davis underwent Maya's experimental procedure. In that time, 200 volunteer soldiers had received modified versions of the neural interface. They weren't as deeply connected to the hegemony network as Davis, but they could sense the aliens' tactical decisions moments before they happened. In the ruins of Paris, enhanced soldiers anticipated an ambush and turned it into a trap of their own. In the deserts of Egypt, they led hegemony forces into sandstorms that disabled their technology. Small victories accumulated, giving humanity precious time. Davis stood on a rooftop in Moscow, watching the battle unfold in the streets below. The Russian winter had arrived early, bringing snow that seemed to confuse the aliens. Their tall, slender bodies struggled in the deep drifts. Still, they outnumbered the human defenders 10-1. "Sir, we need to fall back," said Lieutenant Sokolova, her breath forming clouds in the freezing air. "They're bringing in larger weapons." Davis shook his head. "Not yet. Their commander is frustrated. He's making mistakes." Through his enhanced perception, Davis could sense the hegemony battle network. Their minds operated in perfect sync, but they relied on logic and probability. They couldn't adapt to human unpredictability. Below them, a hegemony transport landed in the square. A device emerged, spherical, pulsing with energy. "Dispersion bomb," Davis said, recognizing it from the hegemony tactical database now accessible to his enhanced mind. "If it detonates, it will kill everyone within 3 blocks." Before he could give an order, a young Russian soldier broke from cover and sprinted toward the device. Private Yelena Petrova, barely 20 years old, had joined the resistance after losing her family in St. Petersburg. "Petrova, wait," Sokolova shouted into her radio. But the young soldier kept running. As the bomb began its activation sequence, she threw herself on top of it, using her body to contain the blast. The explosion was muffled, limited to a small area rather than destroying the entire square. The nearby hegemony commander actually paused in confusion. Its 4 eyes blinked rapidly, head tilting as it processed what had happened. They can't understand sacrifice, Davis realized. They can't process choosing death for others. He turned to Sokolova. "That's it. That's how we win." The next phase of the war began not with weapons but with stories. Using the hegemony's own communication network, Davis and the other enhanced humans broadcast human experiences throughout the alien fleet. They showed mothers protecting children, Friends saving friends, strangers helping strangers with no benefit to themselves. The aliens' networked minds struggled to process these concepts. Their ships began to operate less efficiently. Their attacks became less coordinated. When the hegemony's main battle fleet descended toward Earth, they expected to find a broken planet. Instead, they found humanity united as never before. Artists fighting alongside soldiers, scientists alongside farmers, all connected by the one thing the hegemony couldn't comprehend: hope in the face of impossible odds. At the Central Command bunker in Geneva, Maya prepared for the final phase of the plan. On her screens, she watched hegemony ships taking position around Earth. They still had the power to destroy the planet completely if they chose. "Will this work?" asked General Williams, the bags under his eyes showing his exhaustion. Maya watched as Davis led a team into position to capture a hegemony officer. "It has to." Hours later, Davis brought the captured alien to Maya's lab. It was taller than a human, with iridescent skin and 4 arms. Its eyes scanned the room, calculating escape routes. "Why have you not killed me?" it asked. Maya approached slowly. "We want you to understand us before the end." She showed the alien footage from around the world. Humans fighting not because they could win, but because they refused to surrender. A father in Japan building a shelter for orphaned children while his own home burned. An elderly couple in Brazil sharing their last food with strangers. A boy in Kenya leading aliens away from his hiding village, knowing he would likely die. "We don't fight because we can win," Maya told the captured hegemony officer. "We fight because we love what we're fighting for." The alien tilted its head. "Illogical." "Yes," Davis said, entering the room. "That's what makes it powerful. Your entire civilization is built on cold logic, efficiency, calculation. You can't comprehend why we keep fighting when your algorithms say we should surrender." The alien's eyes narrowed. "This changes nothing. Our fleet still surrounds your world." Maya smiled. "But your fleet is connected to your network. And now so are we." Davis placed his hand on a console, closing his eyes. Through the neural interface, he sent not tactics or threats, but pure human emotion into the hegemony network. Love, grief, hope, sacrifice. Things their logical minds had never experienced. On the monitors, hegemony ships began to falter in their precise formations. The final battle raged above Earth. Maya's enhanced humans broadcast emotions across the hegemony network. Love, grief, hope, sacrifice. The alien ships began to falter as their crews experienced human emotions for the first time. Some vessels drifted aimlessly in space. Others moved in erratic patterns, their precise formations breaking apart as the alien minds within struggled to process the flood of unfamiliar sensations. In the command center beneath Geneva, Maya monitored the neural interfaces of her enhanced human team. Their vital signs were dangerously elevated, their brains working at impossible levels as they projected humanity's emotional essence into the alien collective. "They're burning out," warned Priya, checking the medical readouts. "We need to pull them back." Maya shook her head. "Not yet. We need more time." On her main screen, she watched the small Earth transport carrying Davis and his strike team approach the hegemony command ship. It was their one chance. If they could reach the Supreme Commander and convince it to withdraw, the war might end without Earth's destruction. "Davis's team has docked," announced a technician. "They're in." Maya closed her eyes briefly. "Keep the emotional broadcast at maximum. They need all the confusion we can create." Inside the massive hegemony vessel, Davis led his team through corridors filled with disoriented aliens. Many simply stood still, their 4 eyes blinking rapidly as they processed the strange new feelings flooding their collective consciousness. Others curled into defensive positions, overwhelmed by the emotional input. "This way," Davis said, following the ship's layout he had pulled from the hegemony network. "The command center is 3 levels up." They encountered surprisingly little resistance. The few aliens who tried to stop them seemed confused. their normally perfect coordination now clumsy and uncertain. When they reached the command center, the doors slid open without resistance. Inside, the Hegemony Supreme Commander waited alone. It was larger than the other aliens they had seen, its skin a deeper shade of blue, with markings that might have indicated rank or age. Davis led the assault on the command ship, coming face to face with the Hegemony Supreme Commander. He expected a fight, but instead found the alien leader studying Earth's image on a large screen, its posture suggesting deep thought rather than hostile intent. "Your species is unexpected," the Supreme Commander said without turning. "In 17 conquests, we have never encountered your kind of resistance." Davis kept his weapon ready but signaled his team to hold position. "We're fighting for our home." Many species fight for territory. It is a logical defensive response. The Supreme Commander finally turned to face them. "But you fight differently. You protect others at cost to yourselves. You choose paths that our models show lead to certain defeat. You create art and music even as your cities burn." It paused. "These behaviors have no survival benefit." "They have every benefit," Davis replied. "They're why we fight, why we exist." The Supreme Commander approached Davis, studying him closely. "Your enhanced minds have introduced elements into our network that we cannot process. Contradictions, illogical choices, emotions." It gestured toward the viewing screen showing Earth. "We could still destroy your planet with our remaining fleet." "You could have just destroyed us," the alien said, weapons lowered. "Why offer peace instead?" Davis thought of the refugee aliens who had warned Earth, of the injured soldier he'd spared, of Maya and her lost daughter. All the connections that made life meaningful flashed through his mind. Sacrifice without calculation, love without reason, hope without evidence. "Because that's what makes us human," he replied. For a long moment, the Supreme Commander was silent. Then it made a gesture Davis recognized from the Hegemony database, the signal to stand down. "We withdraw," it said. "Not because you have defeated us militarily, but because you have introduced questions we must consider." 3 days later, the Hegemony fleet began to depart Earth's orbit. They left not in defeat but in transformation, their rigid collective consciousness forever altered by contact with humanity. The work of rebuilding began immediately. Cities lay in ruins, billions had died, but the human spirit remained unbroken. Stories spread of heroism during the darkest times, ordinary people who had done extraordinary things not because of neural enhancements or special abilities, but because of their humanity. 6 months after the withdrawal, Maya stood on a hilltop outside the New Geneva, watching children play in a meadow below. The sound of their laughter carried on the spring breeze. Among them were orphans from around the world, including survivors from the London school bus Davis had saved at nearly the cost of his own life. Davis walked up the hill to join her, moving more slowly than before. The neural interface had taken a toll on his body, aging him beyond his years. But his eyes remained clear and focused. "The Arctians have made contact again," he said. "Their scientists want to work with ours. It seems our victory has inspired other species to resist the hegemony." Maya smiled. "And the hegemony itself? Change. Their scouts report they've begun to integrate emotion into their collective. They're learning to understand what they experienced here." They watched the children playing below, their voices carrying up the hillside. One girl looked up and waved at them. Maya waved back, thinking of Emma and the daughter she never got to see grow up. "We didn't just save humanity," Davis said, joining her. "We shared it." Maya nodded, feeling peace for the first time in years. "Perhaps that's always been our greatest strength." Below them, Earth continued to heal, forever changed but unbroken. And somewhere among the stars, the hegemony began its own transformation, carrying the spark of humanity into the darkness between stars.